From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month. And Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. David Weatherly looks fantastic in a top hat. Even though the only time I met him, he didn't even bring it with him. Heartbreaking, I know. But David is a renaissance man of the strange and supernatural. He has traveled the world in pursuit of ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, magic, and everything in between. From the specters of dusty castles to remote haunted islands, from ancient sites to modern mysteries, he has journeyed to the most unusual places on the globe seeking of the unknown. David became fascinated with the paranormal at an early age. Ghost stories and accounts of weird creatures and UFOs led him to discover many of his early influences. John Keel, Jacques Vallée, Hans Holzer, and others helped set him on the course to spend his life exploring and investigating the unknown. David's website, where all his books are as well, is eerielights.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. David Weatherly, it's been a few months since we had you on the show, but we're so glad to have you back here, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Scott. Always good to be on. Much belated Happy New Year.
Absolutely, my friend. And you know, how's the top hat? This is what I need to know. That is the big curious question for me tonight.
It's good. I think your wife gave you more grief about that than was actually on your mind. But, yeah, the top hat's good.
True. True. Very true. But, you know, man, I really appreciate how much time you spend doing our show. I know you don't do a lot of radio shows out there because your time is extremely limited. And once again, going into our third year of doing this, I want to say a big thank you to you, Dave, for treating not only myself, but mainly our audience listening so well with your knowledge, your presence, and the great entertainment that you bring us every time you're on this show.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure to be on.
Dave, I want to get to a few questions here because I know that you've talked about it ad nauseum, and we're just going to jump right into it today because we have a lot to hit with you because hopefully you'll be back on in a couple of months, schedule permitting. But when you look at everything that you've gone through, from black-eyed kids to UFOs to magic rituals, is there anything that surprises you anymore?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I can still get surprised. You know, I have to think about that one for a minute. It's kind of funny. People ask me often if I get scared doing investigations or at locations and so forth. I don't know if I've ever asked if I've been surprised, but I have indeed been surprised on a number of occasions. And usually it's one of those things that's kind of an instant reaction to something happening, which really, I guess, you know, we're investigating, we're hoping something's going to happen, but even when it does, even if we are expecting it, it's still surprising, right? And, you know, there are some of these moments that are just kind of golden and, you know, little incidents sometimes that occur that are both surprising and fascinating, and also one of those moments that make you go, wait, what? Really? One that springs to mind, and I might have mentioned this on the show before. I was on Poveglia several years ago. Now, this is an island off the coast of Italy, and it's very difficult to get to. It's obviously you have to take a boat over there. You have to hire someone to take you over, and most people are very reluctant to go over there because of the notorious reputation of the island. You know, lore says that hundreds of thousands of people potentially died on this island. all the way back to the plague times. There was a hospital built on the island in later years. And, it's just so many stories associated with the place. Of course, it's been on a couple of the popular ghost hunting shows. But it was pretty incredible to be on that island. And the whole experience was fascinating because, first of all, the guy with who took us over on the boat, there's only two of us, took us over with the boat, and he didn't want to dock or anything. He basically just pulled up to the dock and said, okay, you jump out. And you're getting out thinking, well, maybe this guy will be back at the agreed upon time, maybe not. But, exploring that island, it's so fascinating. It's one of those places that's a bit surreal, and you've got this massive structure that is just being reclaimed by Mother Nature. So I remember walking in this one room. It's this long rectangular room, stone walls, but the ceiling was vines and roots because it had all collapsed and the vegetation had taken over and formed this natural ceiling of plant material, which is just kind of fascinating. But the surprising incident that I'll jump ahead to was this building. There was part of the upstairs that you could go up into. Again, it's a very decaying building. And I walked down this passageway. There's a door at the end of the passage. And I stepped into that room. Well, you can only go a couple of steps into this room because when you walk in, you can now see that about 90% of the floor is gone. It had just collapsed through to the floor below. So there's nowhere to walk except for this little area that's around this one door and a small corner of the room where there's this old metal bed frame that was kind of, it was kind of there. It was hanging part way off, but I kind of surveyed the room for a second and then turned around, obviously, and went back the other way. I will take a few steps away from that doorway, and I heard this very distinct, very loud sound of that metal bed frame, like it was being dragged across the floor. And
oh my goodness,
of course,
that's creepy.
I immediately, turned back and took those couple of steps back in and looked around the corner. The bed had not moved at all. But it sounded, in fact, I was so curious about this that I think it was about a year later, I was in a location. I was able to, there was an old metal bed frame there, and I thought, I just want to replicate that and see. And I grabbed this metal bed frame, and I drug it, and it's the exact sound, Dave, the exact sound. So something, residual or something, I don't know what it was, but something created that sound of that metal bed frame being dragged across the floor. And of course, all kinds of stories associated with this hospital and the things that went on there, mental patients and so forth and other bizarre things. And the hauntings, the stories you hear. I actually ran into a group of Italian ghost hunters who were over and had been on Pavalia once previous, and had a long conversation with them because they were going back. And I told them about the experience, and they were telling me about some of the things they had captured there. And they've captured, EVPs, of course, in Italian, and other anomalous sounds. And it's a pretty amazing spot. And here's the kicker. Now, I was there. I can't remember right off the top of my head what year this was. I think it's, it's probably been 4 or 5 years now. But I was there and was able to get on the island. And right after, within a few days, I departed Italy, and I got the news that Pavalia had been sold to a private party. Now, what do you do with what is purportedly the most haunted island in the world? Obviously, you buy it so you can build a resort. So,
absolutely,
the story is that this private interest purchased Pavalia much much to the chagrin of a lot of Italians who banded together and tried to prevent the sale. But the sale went through, and the story was that a resort would be built on this island, this whole big development. So I haven't seen anything recently. I know that it was tied up legally for a while, and with the Italian economy, I don't know if it just completely fell through, or if it's something that's just taking a long time to happen. But I mean, that's got all the high notes for a a new horror movie for sure. A resort built on one of the world's most haunted islands.
My goodness. That's almost where you plan a vacation there, just to check out what is going on after, because there's going to be some freaky experiences happening there, man. Freaky experiences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a similar... go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a similar battle going on right in this country, in West Virginia, of all places, because there's a small little town outside of Washington, D.C. that is incredibly haunted. The town's called Harper's Ferry. And I put a book out late last year called The Paranormal Files, West Virginia. And it has contributions from Ross Allison and Dave Spink, a West Virginia native. But my portion of the book, which is about a third of the book, is all about the town of Harper's Ferry, which I investigated a lot in the early 90s. It's a town with very rich history that goes back to the frontier period, the American Revolution. George Washington was in the town. There was, of course, anybody who knows much about history, the town is most famous for John Brown's raid, which was kind of the starting point, the flashpoint for the American Civil War. And it had a lot of activity during the Civil War, and of course a lot of rich history afterwards. But there's this hotel that's built right up on this hill. It used to be called Hilltop House. This beautiful old hotel, incredibly haunted, and sadly falling apart to the extent that it has been condemned because they had a fire there several years ago, and the place became heavily damaged. It's by most accounts beyond repair, but a battle has ensued because, again, developers came in and they wanted to purchase the location and build this massive resort. And this is not the kind of place where people want something like that. The town itself is a historic site, so people are living in a national park, essentially. And it's a very small, very tight-knit community, but it's very divided about this resort that these people are trying to build. And I just think it's kind of fascinating because, again, you have a place that, does have a very rich, amazing history, but also is incredibly haunted, lots of different ghost sightings and everything there. And they want to tear it down and they want to build a 5-star resort on top of it. So once again, they put that thing up. Who knows what's going to be happening in there?
When you get property that has been redeveloped, Dave, all right, is that residual energy from the paranormal that sticks there? Or are we going back and saying in the ghost terms, whatever dimension or timeline they're on, their original structure is still there, and that's what keeps them there? What's your theory on that?
Oh, I think it depends on the location and the circumstances, really. We, as people who study this stuff, parapsychologists, if you want to call them that, or paranormal investigators or ghost hunters, over the years, this whole sort of classification system has developed. And really, it's our best effort to try to understand the unknown, right? Because none of us have the answers ultimately yet, anyway, to this. So, what we're looking at is the variations in how these incidents express themselves. So, if we have something that is, let's say, the classic, gray lady who every full moon goes running down this hallway and, gets to the end and turns to the left and vanishes through a wall. And then you find out, okay, well, history shows that there used to be a door there. There's a famous incident supposedly where this woman, was fleeing from an attacker or, something happened, right? So we classify this as a residual haunting. And basically that means a recording. Different ways that could possibly be occurring. There's the theory that, certain types of stone, limestone, crystal, things like this can capture this energy, this expression of a highly emotional or highly charged incident and create a recording. So we're seeing that replayed by some fashion that we don't quite understand yet. It seems like magic or it seems supernatural, but in other ways we could look at it and say, this could be some type of science that we just don't understand yet. You go back a couple of 100 years and show someone a television and they would think it was complete magic, right? You're showing them moving pictures on a box. So we have to consider it in that fashion and say, okay, well, this is playing out this way. But then, of course, we have other cases where the entities that appear, the spirits that appear, interact with people, or they say things or they appear to react to things that living humans are doing. And that is what we classify usually as an intelligent haunting. It's something that is interacting. And, those kind of the two basic classifications. You can get off into other directions. You talk about poltergeists and, different things like that. But really, if we look at just those two classifications, it's a lot of hauntings fall under one of those two. But to understand what we're dealing with, we have to look at the circumstances, the experiences, the reports from the area, and so forth. There's a common belief that construction or renovation, things like that, on the site of a haunting, in a home that is haunted or has had activity, will often stir things up. And it's believed that changing things causes a disruption somehow for whatever spiritual energies are there. So it causes them to react in some fashion. And sometimes that's in a very challenging way. Sometimes the hauntings can get really active, sometimes even aggressive, or a lot more noisy. And this is often thought to be, again, because we're changing what they know. So it's fascinating. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called The Others, which I thought was pretty fascinating, the way it's done. And if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go watch it. It's an older movie. It has Nicole Kidman in it. And I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but it has to do with a house that has a haunting, and that's kind of an interesting twist in the end. But if you really watch the movie and think about, all the various incidents and the interactions and everything, it kind of makes you think, wow, this is interesting.
David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We only got about 4 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. David, sticking with hauntings, there are a lot of people who claim to be living in a haunted building or work in a haunted environment. Is there a way for them to tell what is really going on without maybe bringing in a UFO team, a paranormal team? Because, when it comes to that, a lot of people are getting weirded out by some of these paranormal teams, by some of the strange stories and happenings that seem to be going on.
Oh my gosh, I know. I know. Yeah, there are ways, there's a handful of things I would suggest. If you're having something like that occur, I always tell people, first of all, don't leap to conclusions. You'd probably be better off turning off the paranormal shows and not trying to get ideas for investigating from them. Don't listen to the first idea that you hear that it's something demonic or whatnot. And really start to keep a journal and document the incidents that are occurring and what you're hearing and the conditions that are going on during that time. Again, it's really important to not leap to conclusions, because If you start playing into a fear scenario, then anything is going to be interpreted as paranormal. Noises in the walls, it doesn't mean a demon is scratching trying to get out of hell. It could be that you have a rodent problem. There's a lot of things that can explain some of these common occurrences, and it's important to stay rational, document what's going on. If things continue and some unusual things are happening, if you think you're hearing a voice, if other things are happening, you really start to document that, and then you look into the history of the building, and you find out, well, let's see if anything unusual has occurred here. If you're in a work environment, ask other people, not outright, is this place haunted? Just ask them, has anything weird ever happened in here? Casual questions like that can reveal a lot of information. If it's a home, you ask the previous tenants if you're able to. You dig into the history of what's happened around you, and a lot of times that can indicate whether or not there is potentially something going on, or not. And then beyond that, things start to get really serious. Then you want to try to find a reputable group that does investigations, and you don't take the first one because there sadly are a lot of groups that are just looking for the next portal to hell or whatnot. So you have to get a team in that is walking that perfect balance between a scientific approach and open-mindedness. So they're not going to leap to the conclusion that you're infested by demons, but they're not going to tell you that it's all bunk either, if you really do have some things going on.
With about a minute to go, I mean, the idea behind that too, David, is just because a team's name may come up first on Google doesn't mean they're the best.
Absolutely. And you can't, honestly and sadly, you can't buy into, their website resume and so forth either, because I've seen teams that have sprung up out of nowhere and they claim they've done, 3,000 investigations or something. And you kind of think, okay, no way. It's just not possible. So, you have to seek out some reputable people in the field and, get some good advice. And, I always tell people, if you're really concerned for your safety on a spiritual level and you do practice some kind of spirituality, then you default to that. If you're Catholic, you contact your priest and you ask for a home blessing. If you're Buddhist, you do something different. So, don't, that's another common mistake that happens, is that a lot of these groups, they mix all kinds of different spirituality, and, they
right.
come in doing a quote Catholic house blessing, but they're waving around sage and, playing Native American drums.
Dave, I got to cut you off right there because we're going to break here. More David Weatherly coming up on Spaced Out Radio next.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind all of you that we have our free archives for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing I ask in return is hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Check them on out while you're listening to the show. David Weatherly is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's got this awesome website, eerielights.com. He is the author of 14 books, and his Wood Knock series is the latest that he has continued, now available, Wood Knocks, Volume 4. David, thank you so much for joining us, and let's get into this one, because I know, my friend, you love a good Sasquatch story.
Oh, yeah.
You got the Journal of Sasquatch Research in Wood Knocks Volume 4. Why continue this particular series? What is important about this series for you?
You know, I originally envisioned this as, just like it states, a journal with the opportunity for people to contribute pieces that maybe, wasn't a whole lot of information for a full book, but still an important piece to get out there. And, when I did the first volume, I'm very blessed to know a lot of people in the cryptozoology field, and, basically got on the phone with a bunch of friends and said, look, this is a concept, would you be interested in contributing something to this? And it only took one round of calls, because everybody, when I first contacted them, said, yeah, I'll do it. And, 4 volumes in, and it's kind of a who's who of the the cryptozoology field. And I've just been lucky to have just amazing people, Lyle Blackburn, Lauren Coleman, Ken Gerhard. It's just a whole litany of people. And it's interesting because the other thing I wanted to do with the series was offer this as a chance for new writers, people who hadn't published any books or hadn't really had much of a chance to get their voice out there, to do an article and put their thoughts out there, whether it was their personal research or, a concept or an idea about Sasquatch that they had. And that's worked out really well too. And this volume, in fact, the 4th volume, has a couple of interesting pieces. It has Sam Sharon, that incredible cover artist, also wrote a chapter of Wood Knocks Volume 4. And anybody that has seen and enjoyed his beautiful artwork on the covers of my books and other people's books too, they might not know that Sam has a long time interest in cryptids and all kinds of monsters, and he has some pretty cool personal experiences. So he sent in a great chapter that, gives his perspective, and it's titled Where the Wild Things Are, I believe is what he titled it. And it's just, that piece was like, wow, yeah, this is one of the reasons I kept doing this. We've got Chad Lewis, a good friend of mine, who's another guy who's always out in the field. He's kind of like me. You get a hold of him, there's no telling where he is or where he's headed off to. And he sent in a really fascinating piece about a Sasquatch encounter that spawned a curse in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
And it's a few thousand words. It's a good example of one of the reasons I did this book, this series too, because there's that story. It's I can't remember right off. It's maybe 3,000-4,000 words. Well, obviously that's not a whole book, but it's a really cool case to get out there, and this is a good format for it. So what you get with each volume of Wood Knocks is a different set of people who are giving you some perspective. It might be just a regional study. It might be one particular case. It might be some broad idea about Bigfoot. But there are all these different articles that are thrown out there. And it's been an interesting journey through 4 volumes of this. Sometimes it's been a little bit frustrating. You're dealing with, on average, 6 to 8 different contributors, and it's not easy to wrangle people in our field always. So, you know, you give a lot of people these dates. Well, I need it by this time. Okay, no problem. And a month past that, and you're thinking, hey, man, how's that article coming? So,
no kidding.
You know, you get that side of it, but it's been worth it. It is a lot of work to produce it. We've got a fantastic editor that does a really good job of making it all cohesive. You know, you're talking about a half dozen different voices in each volume, and it takes a good editor to make sure that's not kind of a muddled mess. You know, you get the unique flavor of each person who's writing something. So, yeah, it's been a very successful series. People have really enjoyed it, and I'm always hearing, you know, when's the next one coming out. There's a bit of a gap between 3 and 4, and you know, I hope nobody starts asking me about Volume 5 right now, because I can't even think about that. But Volume 4 just came out this week. It literally became available on Monday. So,
great timing to have you on.
Yeah, it's up on Amazon, and it's got an incredible cover with a Sasquatch standing in a snowy landscape. And again, another amazing Sam Sharon piece. But to give a quick rundown, so there's the other contributors in this one. We've got, Shannon LeGros, who hosts another radio show, but also has her own experiences and investigates herself. She wrote a piece for it. I already mentioned Chad. I've got a chapter in myself. Sam Ulrich. I hope I'm not mangling his name. It's Magan or Magin, the guy from Europe, who wrote a really cool piece on Bigfoot and wild men in Europe. And it's kind of a survey of classical sightings in different countries, everywhere from Scandinavia to the British Isles to Central and Eastern Europe. And there's some really cool material in there. And then we've got Jeff Stewart from Texas, who also contributed a piece on the on sightings in the it slips my mind what region now. But anyway, it's a really good lineup. It's another great volume, like I said, and I think people are going to like it. The Sabine thing, that's what Jeff Stewart wrote about. So, yeah, check it out. It's on Amazon, and you'll see it on the front page of EerieLights.com if you go to my website, with a little snippet and a direct link to go to Amazon and get it right there.
When you have that powerhouse of investigators contributing to your novels of the Woodknock series, David, are you able, as you go through them yourself or other investigators go through them themselves, are you able to find any patterns to this creature in the sightings, in the words of the experiencers?
I guess it depends on what kind of patterns you're looking for. I mean, there are some. There's regional variations, for instance. That's kind of a broad question, so I'm not exactly sure how to answer it. But, you know, in terms of physical traits, yeah, you see patterns in different regions of the country or the world. In terms of behavior patterns, you see differences. I'll give you an example. In Volume 3, I wrote an extensive piece about Sasquatch sightings in Arizona. And, you know, a lot of people don't associate the desert areas with Sasquatch sightings, but you have to remember that right in the middle of Arizona, you've got a lot of forest. You've got the Grand Canyon that is in the upper portion of the region, and then you've got what's called the Mogollon Rim that runs through Arizona. And the rim is a pretty interesting place. There's a lot of forest there. There's a lot of wild area, and there's a lot of sightings of Sasquatch-like creatures who they've given a regional nickname to. They call him the Mogollon Monster. And a lot of the sightings, a lot of the encounters with the creature out there, this particular region, the creature seems more aggressive. So there are reports of, it throwing rocks and tree branches, and we hear that in other regions of the country, but in Arizona, it tends to be a bit more aggressive in nature a lot of the times. And there are accounts of this thing kind of not just howling, but sort of roaring, and, a couple of accounts here and there of it actually charging or making aggressive movements towards witnesses that frighten them off. So, the implication is that for whatever reason, maybe it's the Arizona heat, is making this thing a bit more edgy in that area of the country, and maybe it's just more territorial. That could be what it is too. But that is a difference that is notable, and a pattern certainly that emerges over time of looking at sightings from historical accounts all the way up through modern sightings. The same can be said for other regions of the country, and obviously in physical terms you get variations. There's differences in stature. Usually when these creatures are reported, for instance, in Florida, the swamps down there, they tend to be more on the lean side, kind of scraggly looking, as opposed to, for instance, the Pacific Northwest, where they're usually reported as being much more bulky and muscular. Now, environmental aspects are certainly going to come into play. Obviously, a creature of, that size and weight that lives in the Pacific Northwest is going to have a more difficult time tromping around the Everglades, and the Florida heat and humidity. So, it seems that these creatures are probably all related somehow, but have developed, based on the region that they're living in, have developed in unique ways.
We've discussed on this show with you and other Bigfoot researchers about the differences between the West Coast Sasquatch compared to what is reported on the East Coast. But what happens when you go over to Europe, where we don't hear as many stories from over there, probably because of the distance, or whether it's Australia with the Yahweh or the Yeti near Mount Everest? What's the big differences that we are hearing in these creatures? Is there more aggression? Are they bigger, Dave? Maybe smaller?
Yeah, there's variations. The Yowie in Australia is pretty fascinating because, again, you've got a country with a vast amount of territory that is uninhabited by humans. And a lot of the reports that come from over there, these things appear to be much more aggressive, kind of like the ones I was talking about in Arizona. So you hear a lot of different stories. Some variations, they are usually reported as being thinner and on the a little bit smaller size. But, if we want to go up to talk about sightings of the Yeti, that's a different story, because then we get into creatures that, a lot of people think that's some kind of a bear. I don't personally think that that's the case, but you're talking about a large, bulky creature, and we have to look at the climate again and think, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. If it was something living in a very cold, unforgiving climate, then it's going to have to bulk up in order to survive. So that sort of makes sense. You always have to look too at the folklore and the traditional lore that is associated with these creatures. So, you go to Australia, then there's a lot of stories that go back to the Aborigines. The Aboriginals have stories about these creatures living, out in the wild. You go to regions like Nepal, you'll hear folklore that really a lot of it kind of associates these creatures with being something more on the spiritual side, as having these sort of mystical qualities. And that always makes a lot of traditional cryptozoologists very nervous. When you start talking about anything that is even somewhat paranormal. But, you always have to, I always look at these accounts and try to understand them in a modern context and think about, okay, what parts of this are we not connecting or quite understanding in terms of our modern perception, and how can we better understand what it is we're looking for in terms of both our modern approach and through the lens of older cultures that have been talking about these creatures for a very long time.
David Weatherly is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 7 minutes left before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. David, his website, by the way, everyone, eerielights.com. You can get all of his books there as well. With this creature and the way that it is seen, and so many people see it as very mystic. There is the scientific community who sees it as very real, almost Neanderthal or beyond. What do you think we're looking at here, Dave? Because everybody's encounter seems to be so different, not many the same.
Yeah, well, there actually are commonalities when you start breaking the sightings down, but we have a lot of issues within the field because there's sort of a division that happens, and you have people who are very adamant that this is simply an unknown and undiscovered animal. Possibly related to Gigantopithecus or possibly just an undiscovered ape species. And then you have the other extreme that involves people who are, saying that they have psychic communication with these creatures and all these various things going on. And, I guess when it comes down to it, you have to decide on a personal level sort of where you fall within the spectrum if you're interested in this topic. I always tell people, look, just read as much as you can about it and get out there and experience it yourself if you're inclined to investigate for yourself. But, for me personally, I think that it is, I personally think that it is an undiscovered creature that has some qualities that we just don't understand yet. And I think I've given you this comparison before on the show.
Yes.
I always say, think about the first person that saw a chameleon, what that experience must have been like. They're looking at a lizard who's, that's laying on a tree branch or something one moment, and the next moment it seems to fade away. Well, that would seem, to a primitive person like some kind of magic or something supernatural or bizarre, paranormal, and we have a lot of these cases with Sasquatch-like creatures where, people report seeing these, I was there and it was gone, and I've been looking a lot at the theory that it may be some type of variation of infrasound that they're able to use. A lot of large animals are able to use infrasound. These creatures may have some type of defense mechanism akin to infrasound that causes a alteration in our perception. And infrasound has been proven to interfere with humans in a whole range of ways. So I think it's possible that we're looking at something like that. So again, on certain level, you could say, wow, this is completely paranormal because this creature was there in front of me and the next minute it was gone. I can't see where it ran to, where did it go? But I know it was there. I know it was physically real. So, on some terms, you can say, oh, no, it's paranormal, it's psychic, it's able to, teleport or do all these crazy things. No, let's look at it in a more logical fashion and say, all right, this did happen. So what could possibly explain this in a way that could approach us understanding what exactly is going on here? Because there are a lot of these cases.
Out on the East Coast, I was talking to Butch Witkowski just a couple of nights ago, and he says the numbers for Sasquatch sightings already this year seems to be way up. I don't know if you have followed that or you ever follow those type of reports, but are there years where you see, way more than others? And if so, what do you think causes that type of increase in sightings?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last year about accounts in general across the spectrum, whether it's hauntings or UFOs or cryptids. And I think it's been on the rise, actually, for the last few years. And, man, we're in the roaring 20s again. And I think it's I think it's going to keep increasing. I've received a lot of reports this year already across the board about a lot of different things. So I think that we are on sort of an upward track of anomalous encounters, and it seems to be worldwide. So I'm anticipating that this is going to continue to be a big year for various types of sightings and encounters. Look at all the UFO encounters and everything that have been reported already. So, cryptids is the same thing, and I think we're going to keep seeing that as the year progresses.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see, man, because, I think it's good that people are finally starting to feel comfortable, as we've got about 90 seconds left here, Dave. I think it's nice to see people getting comfortable with the fact that they can report this, and they are not going to be considered a weirdo or somebody who chews a lot of tinfoil.
No, and that's a big part of why we're getting more reports, is that people are more comfortable. And as they get more comfortable, they also become a bit more open-minded and a bit more aware and receptive to, encountering these things. So it's a unique cycle that has begun to develop, I believe.
Why do you think that is? Is it comfortability? Has television? I know you're not a fan of paranormal television. It's acceptance.
Yeah, and paranormal television is a two-edged sword as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've got a lot of friends who do different shows, and that's great. I love that they're able to do that. I've appeared on shows myself, but the thing is that it's brought it into public awareness and public acceptance in a different way. So now people are much more open to saying, oh yeah, I saw a ghost. That couldn't have happened 20 years ago. You'd have the greater portion of people who they did see a ghost, but they're not stating that. They're not about to say to anyone, let alone a stranger, oh yeah, I saw a ghost. So, this has caused a big change, and we're going to continue to see this happen. Of course, again, we got to take the good with the bad, because what else do we get? We get freaking YouTube with, tons of hoaxers who want to post up their latest video of, the ghost in the pub or the UFO in their backyard and stuff like this. And as researchers, we get a headache looking at stuff thinking, oh my gosh, okay, this is more, Photoshop. This is more of this, somebody wanting attention for having, some kind of encounter.
Absolutely. David Weatherly is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. EerieLights.com is his website. Check out his latest books, including Wood Knocks, Volume Number 4, Journal of Sasquatch Research, which just came out this week. More Monster Talk on Spaced Out Radio with the legend hunter, David Weatherly, right after this.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to our terrestrial affiliates, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Combrivorous. Combrivorous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight we are talking with author, researcher, David Weatherly. His website, eerielights.com. He's got 13 books out. 14 is being written right now. But just this week, Wood Knocks Volume 4 has come on out. You can find it on Amazon. David, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man.
I get so many questions about when you're coming on about black-eyed kids, man. Everybody seems to be interested about this topic. This is one of those topics where I'm sure that you, as the author and kind of one of the go-to guys with this, is kind of rolling his eyes saying, geez, again. But people are in love with this topic. They absolutely are fascinated by it, Dave. And, you know, this has history to it. It also has one of the hardest stories or encounters that don't seem to come up very much. So what's your thoughts? Have your thoughts changed on what black-eyed kids are?
Not really. You know, I wrote that book. Of course, I researched it in, 2010, I think, 2010 and 2011. The first edition of the book came out in 2012. And then I revised it in 2017, which was the anniversary of Brian Bethel encounter. And the revised edition has a whole chapter in the back. It's kind of a dialogue with Brian of him reflecting on his encounter, which is a very iconic case, 20 years later, and how it still affects him even today. So, it's one of those topics. I know people are very fascinated by it. People would be happy if there's a segment of people that would be happy if I just kept putting out books with the, black-eyed kid accounts, but it's not really, there's some variations that show up here and there, but so many of the encounters are very similar. And, never say never. I don't know if I'll ever write another book about it at this point. I know that over the years since the book came out, one of the things that kind of fascinated me was the historical components that popped up that sort of connected to it. There had been once people got really into looking at these cases, there have been encounters that have popped up here and there that people have sent me, or sometimes I've found, or that other people have found, that are much, much earlier cases. Sometimes they're connected to UFO encounters, or sometimes they're connected to something else, where a black-eyed kid or a black-eyed person shows up. And it just shows the extent of this phenomena, I think. One of the things that I found very intriguing was the discovery of what's called the Urfa Man. And this is a statue that was discovered in Göbekli Tepe, an archaeological site that is pretty fascinating. They don't know a whole lot about it at this point, even though they've been excavating it for years now. But they have found all these incredible stone carvings. And at that point, when they discovered the Urfa Man, it was the only humanoid carved figure that they had discovered. And this statue, if you Google it, it's URFA, Urfa Man, and you'll see this statue that is carved out of one singular piece of stone. It looks like, something off of Ancient Aliens or whatever. It's just this tall carved statue. It's all out of stone except for the eyes. The ancients who carved this thing journeyed somewhere to find black obsidian to use for the eyes. So you had this weird humanoid statue that they specifically went somewhere to find black obsidian to put in the eyes. Now, there's a lot of questions that arise for me. When you think about this, why black obsidian? Why do black eyes? I mean, other stones are available. It's doubtful people walking around in their village had solid black eyes. I don't know, but the odds are they were humans just like you and I to a degree, and normal eyes or pupils, and not an entire sclera that's one color. So it's kind of fascinating that they did that. The other kicker to this thing is that I've spoken to several different people who've seen this statue. I've not been to Göbekli Tepe, but some colleagues and friends of mine have been. Robert Schock, Linda Moulton Howe, they've both seen this thing. A couple of other people. Everyone who's seen this statue and stood in front of it has told me independently that it's kind of unsettling, that there's something really strange about the experience of standing in front of this statue and gazing at this statue with solid black eyes. And, it's a real puzzle. It's a real puzzle that I think somehow adds to this whole phenomena of these black-eyed kids and these reports of black-eyed beings. It shows again that this is something that historically goes pretty far back, and to some degree is somewhat unnerving, isn't it? Because, as humans, when we interact with other living beings, one of those primary points of contact for our interaction is through the eyes. If you're looking into the eyes of another person or even an animal, you're getting these sort of standard responses, right? Whether it's eye movement or whatever, but you can see the life. You can see the consciousness, I guess, in those eyes. You hear these reports of people encountering black-eyed kids or even black-eyed adults, and they say there's nothing there. There's these solid black eyes, and what's the old adage? The eyes are the windows to the soul. So what happens when there's nothing there when you look in? That's kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at this statue right now, and this thing is freaky, especially where it looks like it's almost. Honestly, this is creepy, this Urfa Man. And what scares me about it is, I don't know if that's a crack in the statue or not, but it looks like somebody tried to slice its head off.
Yeah, that it's been a long time since I looked at that. That it might have been damaged when they found it. I can't recall right off because I don't think it's a separate piece. I'm pretty sure it was all one carving initially.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah, I'm just pulling the photo up myself and trying to recall, because I think if you look down, I believe there's another crack in it too that's lower down. But again, I haven't seen it myself. I've talked to friends who have been over there, and actually, what's interesting too is, so at the time that this thing was discovered, it dated back to, I want to say like 9,000 BC. So we're talking about this, really, really old statue. And at the time, it was the only humanoid figure that they had found at this site. Everything else they had found a lot of other amazing, carvings, but they were all various types of animals and so forth. And I spoke to Robert Schock, and I spoke on a conference on a cruise this past summer together, and we were discussing the Urfa Man some because he's been over there a couple times, and he told me that they had recently discovered apparently some other humanoid figures at Göbekli Tepe, or some other humanoid carvings, but they're not like this thing, and they're not with black eyes. So this still stands as something incredibly unique and very puzzling. It's an extremely strange find, and it's one of those things that, man, you just kind of look at it and you think, what were they thinking? Why exactly did they do this?
No kidding. Shar has a couple of questions regarding black-eyed kids, and the first one she's asking, do we know if they have a soul or no?
No, we don't. We don't know that. I mean, scientifically, how can you prove anybody has a soul? I guess, but there's that kind of gets into a lot of spiritual questions. Which, one of the things about this whole black-eyed kid phenomena is that it has created all these sort of subdivisions for what people think they are. There's a whole segment of people that think there's some kind of alien hybrid or just an outright alien. There are a lot of people who are more traditional Christian who believe that these are some kind of demonic entities or something, here to undermine us as a human race. And, a lot of people, you really get into listening to some of these people and they think these are outright, minions of Satan or something that have been sent. I don't know. I don't know if they have a soul. I don't think they're human in the way that we understand humanity. So I'll just kind of leave it at that, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Follow up from Shar in regards to this. Do we know what happens to people who actually let these black-eyed children in?
Yeah, there are a few cases, and, it appears that the more contact there is with one of these things, the worse the circumstances. So I heard a lot of stories when I was writing the book, and a lot of different accounts about what would happen or what did happen if one of these things entered someone's home. There's not a whole lot. There's one fairly long story that's in the book. I won't go into it tonight, but it details someone who had a fairly close encounter with one of these things. But I can tell you that, there are accounts of people simply reaching out and touching these black-eyed beings and having pretty bad consequences as a result, physical illness, misfortunes, and other strange things that occur.
All right. Let's get to Joey's question. And Joey is asking, David, have you seen any patterns in black-eyed kids picking a potential target?
Not really. That's, as an investigator, I always look for patterns. And honestly, I always tell people when I started researching that topic originally, I very much expected to find a distinct pattern. I thought initially, I'm going to find, for instance, this happening around a lot of UFO cases or UFO sightings or encounters. And that didn't prove to be the case. It was a very small number. But even patterns amongst people can't really be pinned down either. The cases are all over the world. They're reported from people of a wide range of age, ethnicity, religious background, so very few patterns.
Interesting. How come we don't hear a lot about these cases? Are they extremely rare, David, or do they come around every few years, almost, like they're almost timed out?
I don't know. Well, I guess it depends on where you're looking for the information too. I think a lot of investigators, myself, I get a fair number of these accounts still, but I don't post them every time I get them now or even talk about them. And one of the reasons for that is because there are distinct patterns to how the encounters unfold, and there's not a lot of variations. So again, I think, there's a small segment of people that would be happy just, or fascinated just reading these cases one after another. But for me, I kind of watch and see where can we learn something? How is this developing? Yeah, it's terrifying. This, like a kid showed up at this woman's door and tried to get in to use the phone or the bathroom or whatever. But, it also sounds like a dozen other cases that I've read over the last couple of months. So where is sure, I'm going to document it and put it in the files and pay attention to where it happens and when it happens, but where's the other information that's going to help us come to a different level of understanding of this phenomena and figure out what it is? I think, there's people that track these things. There are people that are really fascinated by it, and you can Google this online and you'll find tons and tons of sightings, but they range from the fairly common, it showed up at my door, wanted to come in, blah, 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 or, the overly dramatic claims that, I let one in and 30 people have died, and, it's the internet. So I guess it becomes, all right, where are we looking for encounters and where are we going to get the data? Because that's the important factor here in understanding this a bit more.
Yeah, no kidding. David, when you get those new encounters that are out there, I mean, for many of us who have an interest in these topics, are they centralized in certain areas? Are they affecting people who have, say, lost their spiritual belief? I'm just curious what brings these things around that you've been able to figure out.
Yeah, that's, there's been a minor pattern of people who've had these encounters who had been very religious at some point in their lives, whether it was growing up or whatnot, and had kind of fallen off of that. And what's fascinating is that a good portion of people who have these encounters, they do turn to a spiritual belief system, whether it's the one they grew up with and were comfortable with, or whether it's something new. And I've had many people tell me that, this happened to me, and I started going to church again because I just wanted to feel like I was prepared, like I had something else, some other level of protection, something, if this thing ever came back. So there is that factor, it does seem to invoke or provoke, responses in people who have the experiences for whatever reason. And, I think that's fascinating. At the same time, I think it's one of the things that makes this sort of to a degree, a controversial phenomena, because it's one of those areas. There's a lot of people that jump up and down and get really angry and claim, no, there's no such thing. It's all a hoax. It's all urban legend. But, you can see in the same thread, you can see people proclaiming that, and then you can see people proclaiming it absolutely is real. I've encountered one myself, and I've been traumatized since then. So it really creates a division in a different way than something, like a haunting or UFO sighting or something like that does now. And I'm not exactly sure why that is. It's kind of intriguing to a degree, but it seems to have been a part of the phenomenon the whole time. And for anyone who's read my book, you'll see there's a whole chapter in there about this dialogue I had with this guy who was a skeptic, and he got to the point where he was very angry that I was researching the topic. And in the book, I don't really, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I put all the information out there. I explore the different potentials and possibilities to explain what these things are. And I really want people to, obviously I want them to read the book, but I want them to decide for themselves and do their own research. And, figure it out for yourself what you believe these things are. And it's funny because the dialogue with the skeptic in the book, I go through this whole thing with this guy, and he became extremely angry, like I said, that I was pursuing this and examining this phenomena, and was really did not want me to write this book, And it's kind of sad and interesting at the same time that people become so invested in what other people believe. In this field in particular, we all would do much better if we just approached it with an open mind and read as much material and gathered as many ideas as we can, but come to our own conclusions, because, that's going to help the field overall learn more and grow and hopefully understand some of this strange phenomena, because there's way too many people out there that spend a good portion of their time complaining and arguing about somebody else's opinion and what somebody else believes.
Absolutely. David, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. I know we have a couple questions from the audience that we could take right after this break. David Weatherly comes on every couple months to talk about all sorts of cryptids, monsters, hauntings, and that's why we love him around here. His website, eerielights.com. More with David Weatherly on Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd Psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other: Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Having a great time in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you to our guest tonight. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can check those on out while you're listening to the show. David Weatherly is here every couple of months detailing and describing the encounters with monsters that he is checking on out around the world. This is his life, this is his job, and this is what he loves to do, including telling these stories to all of you. His website, eerielights.com. You can also get one of his many books, especially the Wood Knock series on Bigfoot. David, welcome back.
Always good to be here.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Joey is asking, in regards to black-eyed kids, have you had any reports of black-eyed adults?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a fair number of those. There's a chapter in Strange Intruders that covered some of that. And, you know, there's always some of those reports that float around, even if you go back to the early days of the black-eyed kid encounters. You'll see there are some accounts here and there of black-eyed adults. The problem that you get into a little bit more, especially in modern times, is that now these black contacts are so cheap to purchase. So, you know, you have to understand that there are going to be occasions where some of these things are just a matter of a hoax, somebody playing a prank or whatever. When I originally researched the book, the full sclera contacts, they were out there, but they were pretty pricey back then. They were, $200-$300 a pair. So, you know, it was something that, there's not a bunch of kids running around buying these things to pull a prank. And, I pursued that pretty thoroughly when I first did it. But again, these things have become very inexpensive now, and you can pick up pairs of them fairly cheap. Sadly, it's contributed to the potential for there being a hoax in some of these cases.
All right, a couple more questions that we have from the chat room here. And Shar is asking, are there reports of these black-eyed kids just disappearing in front of people?
There are reports of them disappearing very suddenly. Now, I don't recall off the top of my head a report of anyone seeing one of these things just vanish. Outside of a couple of accounts that very clearly were encounters with what appeared to be a ghost that had black eyes, or sometimes no eyes. And those are sort of strange reports that still fall within the spectrum of these black-eyed beings. But in terms of the physical black-eyed kids, there are a few reports that are very strange in terms of how these kids leave. And what I mean by that, as an example, there's a report from a law enforcement officer that's in the book, and he encountered a pair of these kids late one night on the porch of this house. It was up on a elevated deck at the door of this house, and the kids were standing against the railing when the officer turned to knock on the door to try to get the people awake. He had only turned for a few seconds, and when he turned back around, these kids had vanished. Now, he was blocking the steps, so the only way they could have gotten off this deck was if they had jumped off, climbed the railing and jumped off down to the ground below. The problem with this is that the drop was pretty significant, and the yard was wide open and clear. Obviously, if they had done that, it would have made noise. He would have heard it. And with a few seconds that he was turned around, it just wasn't time for them to do that. So it's a very strange incident. It's puzzled that man for years since it happened. And, when they were just suddenly gone. Of course, he rushed over to the rail and he looked all around the yard. He had his flashlight out. He surveyed everything, and he couldn't find a trace of these kids anywhere. So that is a case of them vanishing. Granted, he didn't see it, and that wasn't before his eyes, but it certainly was, in a sense, right there in his presence. And there's just no explanation for that.
That is eerie. I mean, that affects somebody. That's what causes PTSD right there.
Yeah,
in a strange sort of way.
There's a couple of other accounts, too, where people have, again, they haven't seen it happen, but they've heard a very strange noise that they describe as kind of a popping noise. And it seemed to signal these children departing. So there's a guy in England who had an encounter with these kids in his apartment building, a secure building, and somehow they got in. And he had this incident where he had shut the door on them. They were in the hallway, shut the door, and he heard this strange sort of popping noise, and he yanked the door back open really quickly, and they were gone. Again, similar situation where they would have had to have run down the hallway and down the steps and would have made a lot of noise. He didn't hear any of that. He just heard this bizarre popping sound, and the kids were gone.
Wow. See, stuff like that just puts every hair on my body standing up. I mean, when you physically see
territory.
Yeah, I mean, when you're physically seeing these children hanging out, doing their thing, and they're creeping you out, and then all of a sudden the next second they are gone, Dave. I mean, that is so illogical to what should be happening. I mean, I can understand where people get a little rambunctious about trying to figure out what is going on, especially with it happening to a police officer.
Yeah, and, you brought up something when we first started talking about this topic tonight about how fascinated people are with it. And I think one of the components that comes in is you've got this combination of the supernatural or the paranormal and children. And when you mix those two things, I believe it does something to most people psychologically. I've been in this field a long time, Dave, and I've investigated with a lot of different people, and I've seen kind of big badass investigators, like biker type of guys who will go in and very rigid and very defined with how they investigate. And I have one person in particular in mind I knew him years ago, and never saw this guy crack or get emotional or anything. But then we were investigating the location, and a child's voice popped up on an EVP, and it completely changed this man's demeanor. So I believe the reason for that is because when you blend children and the paranormal, or it's been done in Hollywood with horror. They've successfully created these very creepy, disturbing horror movies that bring kids in as one of the elements, and that's unsettling. It's unsettling for people in a lot of ways because for this guy, here was this big tough guy who had kids of his own, and all of a sudden he's in a context where potentially there's a child spirit that's trapped. And, he can deal with, the spirits of, whatever, gangsters, cowboys, or whatever all day. But, oh my gosh, there's the spirit of a kid that's trapped here. That's wrong. And those are his words. This is wrong. This shouldn't be a child trapped here. So, that's one of those psychological components. The same thing comes in when you look at these cases with these black-eyed children. There's a psychological battle that unfolds for the witness because they have answered their door or whatever the context is, and they're confronted with what appears to be physically, in most regards, a human child, who is expressing the need for help. Right, Mister, I'm I need water, I need the phone, I need whatever. And as human adults, I think we're kind of programmed. Most of us are programmed to help a child. If a child comes up to you, Dave, on the street or in a mall or whatever, says, "Mister, I'm lost," or "Mister, I need some water." So, what are you going to do? Your automatic reaction is going to be to help. Well, what happens? If we put this scenario, if you play this out in your own mind, it'll give you a good example. Let's say you get a knock on the door, and it's a little kid, and he says, "Mister, I need to use your phone. I need to call, home." You're going to usher him in. You're probably going to, am I right? You're going to do whatever you can to help this kid. But what happens if that scenario, as it is unfolding, something else is going on? Every personal warning sign that you have when things aren't right, when there's trouble, when there's danger, starts to go off. Whether it's the hair on the back of the neck, the queasiness in the stomach, whatever it is, we all have that. We're all conscious of it to various degrees. But if you're confronted with a child who's asking for help, but at the same time, something is telling you that something is really wrong with this situation, you're going to be confused. You're going to go through a lot of turmoil within yourself, trying to figure out how to process this. What do you do? People who have encountered the kids describe this sort of back and forth. They're compelled to let this kid in, or to give this kid a ride or whatever it is, but their body and everything else is telling them something's wrong. I can't. This. I'm in trouble. There's danger here, and it's a real push and pull for these people. So, and that's one of the things that traumatizes these witnesses. So it's a very disturbing scenario. And then, of course, the kicker comes when the witness starts to examine the quote child that is in front of them, and realizes, oh, this kid has solid black eyes. Something really is wrong here, because this is not quite a kid. So that kind of pushes things over the edge.
I want to get to some questions from our audience, Dave, and we're going to start with Ron here, who is asking, David, what do you think the difference is between provoking and invoking from two different scenes?
From two different what?
Excuse me, two different scenes.
Two different scenes.
So, yeah, I'm just going by what Ron put on here. He's from Saskatchewan, gotcha. so you got to be careful with that.
I know, Ron.
No, this is a different Ron. They're only all the males in Saskatchewan are either named Ron or John. One of the two.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, okay. So typically by I guess a working definition. So provoking, for those who aren't familiar with it, would basically be trying to agitate, the situation. So. To put this in very easy to understand kind of physical terms, let's say, you are at a restaurant and, there's this person you want to talk to, you want something out of them. You can invoke a response by just walking up to them and attempting to engage them in conversation, right? By saying, hey, excuse me, can you, give me this information, or can you do this? That would be invoking, the asking for a response. It's more conversational. Provoking would be confrontational, in the sense that you don't even try to talk to this person. You just walk up and, you kind of start screaming at them. You might pound your fist on the table. You might say, hey, you're going to respond to me. I'm going to ask you these questions, and you're going to respond right now. So it's a very aggressive approach. Now, this whole provoking thing really came up mostly from the ghost hunting shows, and it became popular for a few of the shows to do this episode after episode in order to try to get a response on some of the equipment, whether that was, an EVP response or a ghost box or whatever they were using at the time. And it very often is in poor taste because it is, I've seen people use this, and I've seen people use it and it's been kind of disturbing. I've seen people use it in context where there really was no reason for them to be doing this. It's, wow, you're in a place where you should be being more respectful, for instance, and instead you're trying to, provoke the spirits of deceased soldiers or something like that. I think that, I never say never. I think there are rare occasions where you can use a confrontational approach in order to elicit some responses, but it has to be gauged with exactly what environment you're in. There's only been a couple of times that I can ever recall using something like that. And I can tell you one of them was when was during an investigation of Fox Hollow Farms, which is the home of a notorious serial killer in Indiana. And this is just a despicable person. And, I got a bit confrontational just because of the nature. But, the thing is that confronted with that person, I would have expressed the same opinion, if I, under the right circumstances, So I think that people would do well to think about, when they investigate, to think about it in terms of how they would interact with people, in the normal day-to-day world, or how they would like to be interacted with. What's the old adage? You get more flies with honey.
Yes.
So, if you take a kinder approach, a more balanced approach, then you're often going to get the responses that you're looking for anyway.
All right. We've got about 4.5 minutes left with you till we go to break at the top of the hour. David Weatherly is our guest. Robin has a pair of questions for you. He is asking, David, the ghost hunting TV shows, do you think they actually know how to use their equipment properly?
That's kind of funny. It's just sad, but it's funny. I'm sorry. Some of them do. I can't just give a broad yes or no to that. And the reason is that, my gosh, in the past year, certainly in the U.S., we've seen such a glut of these shows. I mean, there's one after another. It seems like every couple of weeks another one is debuting. And the sad thing is that there's a lot of these people that really, they had nothing to do with the field before television. So, I find a lot of the stuff unwatchable. I've seen a lot of clips and I've seen some episodes of stuff that, they're calling pieces of equipment by the wrong name. They're using equipment in a way that they clearly don't even understand exactly what it's doing. And, a lot of this is Hollywood. Hollywood is more prone to enjoy the flashing lights and the noises and the sounds that the various equipment makes. And, they're focusing on the drama and the dramatic reactions to, this meter just went off. Whoa. So, we've sadly gotten to this point where it's, some of them are just so bad. I don't even hardly want to go into it. So sadly, Ron, I think that there are indeed a lot of these people who either don't understand how the equipment works or why or if it works, and don't understand how to use it. And sometimes all of the above.
All right, Robin's second question is, we got about two minutes to go here. He is saying, have you ever heard about the Women in Black?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking that was Ron, but that's Robin. Yeah, that's that's kind of interesting. You know, a good friend of mine I've known for many years, Nick Redfern. I don't know if you've had him on, Dave.
Just once.
Okay, so Nick has delved into that quite a bit. You know, the Men in Black is one of his specialties, and there are these encounters that have come up over the years that fall into the same sort of paradigm as the Men in Black, but they're females instead. And it's not something I've delved into a whole lot myself. I know that some of these encounters, they, again, fall around the spectrum of these weird, shadowy figures that show up and are dressed all in black and want to impress upon a witness that, no, you really didn't see a UFO. You saw the planet Venus, or you saw a shooting star or something. And, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe the MIB's finally diversified and started hiring women. It's just, it's kind of a strange thing, but it's also one of these points where we see a phenomenon that starts to diversify some just when we think we're starting to understand the patterns. So, for years, decades, we've got these Men in Black sightings, and then they all seem to be, very similar. We seem to start to be able to classify them, and what happens, whatever the intelligence is behind it, it throws a monkey wrench in and changes things up a little bit. And so, well, here you've got a woman in black that is paying a visit to this witness. And, yeah, it fits the parameters, but no, this is something different. So it's as if that intelligence that is behind all of this is constantly adjusting to stay several steps ahead of us.
And on that note, Dave, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we have David Weatherly for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio, so we're going to kick off hour number 3. I know we got a bunch of your questions left. We will get to those. And we got the SOR Newswire and Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio with David Weatherly at EerieLights.com. Next.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thieme. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as THAL. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of a warm and tender heat around the SOR headquarters. Yes, the snow is melting. It is above 0, people. That's Celsius. Above 32 degrees. It is 32, right? Fahrenheit? I think so. Anyways, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and Chuck and the crew at Ridgecrest, California at KZFX 93.7 FM. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Comburivorous. Comburivorous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce David Weatherly. If you've missed the first 2 hours of this show, you're definitely going to want to check the archives. His website, eerielights.com. You can find all of his books there, including his newest one that just came out earlier this week, Woodknox Volume 4. It's all about Sasquatch, baby, and it is a great, great Sasquatch series. David, welcome back to the show.
Hey, man. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
It sure does, my friend. It sure does. And we're, once again, proud to have you here. Let's get to some questions from our audience because they have quite a few here, and we're lined up. Let's start with Nikki, who is asking, David, has anyone started figuring out what kind of creature these things are?
Which things?
I'm sorry, black-eyed. We're still on black-eyed kids here.
Oh, okay. Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different camps, so to speak, that are clusters of people that believe they're one thing or another. I'd say the two largest groups are people on one side who believe there's some kind of an alien-human hybrid, and another contingent that really thinks that these things are something demonic. And when you start looking at the cases and examining the different aspects to the encounters, you can really argue either one because they have things in common with both of those traditional, entities. So, for instance, of course, the pale skin and the large black eyes that seem to kind of stare out. Those two things alone sort of make them appear to be something akin to the alien grays. I've seen people react to the cover of the classic book Communion by Whitley Strieber. It's just that portrait of that alien gray, and say, yeah, it looks kind of similar to this, but it was a kid. But equally, we could argue that, yeah, maybe this is something that is by classical religious definition, a demonic entity, because we have these strange connections to what would be considered a Catholic based demon. They don't appear to be able to enter a premises unless they're invited inside. They have the appearance of something that's human, but they radiate something that is, by many accounts, evil or disturbing. Classical demonology claims that a demon can take the form of a human being, but not quite completely perfect. Something has to be misformed, whether it's a hand, a mangled hand, or a cloven foot, or perhaps black eyes. So, those are probably the two biggest arguments to explain what these things are. There's a lot of other things that fall in between. That's one of the things the book examines, I think, pretty thoroughly, to look at the different potentials to explain what these creatures really are.
All right, let's continue going on here with the questions. This one comes from Stephanie, who is asking, David, how do you know you're actually talking to a real black-eyed person?
I'm not sure exactly how to answer that. I mean, in terms of the encounters themselves, I think that there are certain hallmarks to these reports that indicate people have encountered something that is not just a person, with black contacts, or with something else that is, that they're using to hoax the situation. Most of these witnesses that I speak to who have had genuine encounters, they're traumatized to some degree or other. And the things that occur during the encounters, they're not reactions you would have with a normal human being. So, I think that you just have to be conscious of what's going on and watching those warning signals if you find yourself in the midst of one of these situations. And let's be honest, I mean, if someone shows up at your door that is a stranger, or, someone, a complete stranger approaches you, even if there is the potential that it's a hoax, it's probably not a good situation. If someone is walking around with black contacts, or something strange going on with their eyes, it's probably a situation you'd be safest to leave anyway.
All right, let's go back to Nikki here. She says, such as with known aliens, there are real patterns, DNA they may be attracted to, hormone levels of the witnesses, pineal glands used that they draw to, medical conditions they're drawn to. Has anyone ever been documenting those elements to these incidents with black-eyed children?
I looked at a extremely wide range of patterns when I researched the original book, and there just were not those patterns that emerged. There's, as we've talked about kind of extensively earlier tonight, there were a couple of minor patterns that came up, but really beyond people who had kind of fallen away from their faith, and a few simple things like that, there just aren't. Once again, the range of people who encounter these things, it's across the spectrum, age, ethnicity, religious belief, all kinds of backgrounds. When I interview people, I have a pretty thorough approach to the information that I gather. And then, of course, in follow-up, for the people I stay in touch with, I continue to ask questions. And no, none of those kind of patterns have emerged with this, not to any significant degree.
All right. I think we've caught up on the questions, Dave. I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do.
I'm sure you'll think of something.
Yeah, I'll definitely think of something. Dave, with everything that has been focused regarding the technology around UFOs the last couple of years, I think the experiencer is the forgotten person in all of this. Do you see that as the same as somebody who researches the experiences people are having and looks into them? Do you see this with UFOs and potential ET contact?
I do, but I think it's also part of the natural cycle because, if you really look at UFOs overall, sort of on the historical timeline, then we do have periods where all of the emphasis has been on contact, or on specific areas of ufology. For instance, we went through a period where the big thing seemed to be talking about abductions. Left and right, we were hearing about abductions and abduction research, and we had people, writing. I mentioned Whitley Strieber earlier. We had Bud Hopkins. Some of the famous cases that have been just intensely looked at, like the Travis Walton abduction. And those cases will always, Travis's case is a good one to bring up because it's something that it seems to be a point of endless fascination for people. I've known Travis for years, and he continues to show up at conferences, and his story doesn't change, but people will listen to it again and again and again. And it's that, I think it's that pure fact that by all accounts, this man experienced something that, most of us have not and will not. So people who are intrigued by the phenomena, they just, they're enthralled by the whole aspect of it. So, we have these different things that happen through the history of ufology. We had a period where the contactee movement, as it was called, was the big thing. And, we had all these people who claimed that they were in regular contact and communication with aliens from, Venus and all these other locations throughout the galaxy and beyond. So the evolution, I think, is to technology in the past year or two. It's just part of the cycle, where we have to, it's almost like a natural rhythm, I believe, that the field has, because we have to stay balanced. If it stayed focused on the contactees for years and years, it would drive a large percentage of the people away, because that is perceived as something that is kind of, wacky or new agey, or it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear about that. But when the focus cycles around to these different areas, the phenomena sort of pulls in a wide range of people, doesn't it? We have people who are intrigued by the potential of contact with an alien race. But then we have other people who are just scientifically minded, and they're just interested in getting to the answer, to explain what are these things that military pilots are seeing in the sky. What are we dealing with? They want to know, they want an answer to the nuts and bolts aspect of what's occurring. So, yeah, I would argue that this is just part of the natural development of the field, and I think it's going to continue to accelerate. I expect we'll see some interesting things with how technology is developing and being geared towards getting answers about exactly what's darting around in the skies.
Well, with the alien encounters that people are still having, because they aren't stopping, we all know that. But with the encounters that are happening, are we gaining more information? Because, I think with technology, we don't have, maybe outside of Chris Bledsoe and Calvin Parker, we don't really have, due to the information age, that good Betty and Barney Hill story or that Travis Walton story, or anything along those lines that is really tantalizing to push this forward. And I do blame CGI. I do blame the fakery out there that is unfortunately ruining some real significant experiences, good or bad, that people are having. People who come to you, Dave, for looking into this, are they still having the same amount of contact as they were before, number one? And number two, is it getting scarier because that's the media hype around this right now? Or is it still the same where most people out there say they're having positive contact?
No, I think there continues to be a range of experiences from people who are having contact or reporting encounters with alien entities. What's happened really is that ufology has been in existence long enough now that, let's be clear, it kind of is a subculture, right, to a certain degree. But even within that, now in our modern age, we have subsets of that, don't we? Because, within the field of the study of UFOs, we have people who have sort of broken off into these little, subgroups. And you can go to a major UFO conference and you'll see all those groups kind of floating around and interacting with each other to a certain degree, but they also kind of keep to themselves to a certain degree too, because over here you've got the people who are interested in just the craft, just getting answers about what these, how the propulsion system works, did we reverse engineer this? This is all kind of mechanical. And then, the table across from them might be a group of ladies who are interested in psychic contact with the Pleiades. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to just walk around one of these conferences and see. Well, you were just at a conference. I'm sure you experienced what I'm talking about. So you see all these separate groups, and what's happened is that, again, so many people have been drawn to the interest in UFOs to this subculture. But at the same time, it doesn't all quite fit together really well because it is so unknown that certain segments of the field don't quite know how to interact with the other segments. Because, I've been at those conferences and I've seen, the person at this table is looking at the people at that table and saying, they're whack jobs. They don't get it. But, it goes back to something I said earlier. We have to be, we should be approaching these things with a bit more of an open mind and understanding, hey, none of us have the answers yet. And, the answer may come through technology. It may come through, a craft coming down in Times Square, but it can also come from, some farmer in Nebraska who has contact and the word gets out in a different way than it did with the Travis Walton case or something. We just don't know. We don't have the answers. That's really why we're pursuing these things. That's why we're researchers or investigators or just people who are interested. Wherever you fall within that spectrum, that's really what this is about, is discovery of the unknown. And to do that, you have to be open-minded enough, not so open-minded that your brains fall out, mind you, but open-minded enough that you're willing to accept, hey, the answer to this unknown phenomena may really fall outside of not just my spectrum of understanding, but my spectrum of what I expect or what I think the explanation might be. Because, again, none of us have the answers yet.
David, we got two more questions from the audience here and about 3.5 minutes left. Let's try and sneak these in. Andrew in North Vancouver is asking, black-eyed beings sound a lot like the traditional descriptions of vampires, except maybe without the fangs. Are there any relations there?
Oh, sure. I delve into that some in the book. And the reason I do that is because, again, as I said earlier, I think it's always important to look at traditional lore, folklore, various legends, and understand, how that may apply to to what is being experienced now, whether that is due to something psychological or something else. But to give a quick answer to this question, there are some similarities. One of the big ones, of course, is that they don't appear to be able to enter a premises without an invitation. I mean, that's classic vampire lore, is that a vampire can't cross the threshold unless you let him in. It does also relate to demonology, because purportedly demons can't enter without an invitation.
All right, and the final question of the night will go to Greco on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. David, do you believe the alien autopsy video is real, and how involved is the government in this, in your opinion?
Well, no, I don't think the alien autopsy video is real. But in terms of government involvement, I think it becomes more obvious every day that that the government is involved and knows more, obviously, than it has revealed. But that's to a certain degree to be expected. I mean, this is something that the government has looked at for a very long time. And, everybody knows about Project Blue Book, but there have been other government studies that have looked into the UFO question, and that continues to be the case, and will continue to be the case. Everybody's focused on disclosure being, the government coming out and announcing on television or something, listen, people, UFOs are real. And, that's not how it comes. Disclosure, I've said this for a very long time, stop worrying about what president is going to give us disclosure. Disclosure has been unfolding for years, because all over the world, people are now saying, no, we're not the only ones here in the universe. There's something else. There are others that have been visiting us. And people know. I think worldwide disclosure is happening by default, and we're now seeing circumstances where the government just can't hide everything. You have things like some of the military, the Tic Tac UFO, some of the military videos and stuff that are coming out. This is disclosure happening right here. It's not about President whoever telling us. It's about us understanding as humanity that we're not alone.
David, I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. We got you tentatively booked for April 23rd, and if you're around, I know you're going to make it. If not, we'll fill in with the wrestler John Edwards and his beautiful wife, Stacy.
Sounds good, man. It's always great talking with you. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime you want to come on. We got to get you on with Tenny one night. EerieLights.com is David's website, so make sure you check that on out. Check out his latest book, Wood Knocks, Volume 4. You'll love it. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Spaced Out Radio continues after this.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there! You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news, how about we get right to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the forgetful. Can you believe this? Well, they say showing up is half the battle. However, by this account, a mother who arrived at her children's school to drop them off was a half victory. Yeah, unfortunately, she drove all the way to school to drop off the kids, but she forgot the kids at home. How does this even happen? Yeah, it's in a now viral video that's all over Twitter right now. The mother, who was not identified, had completely blanked out when taking her kids to school that morning and began driving off. However, the children were not around to be seen. In the clip, which was posted to Twitter and viewed now almost 4 billion times, the mother pans the camera around to show her car empty, saying, "I'm driving to school without my kids," before she completely loses it and breaking out in a fit of laughter. She goes, "I have to go back and pick them up. I can't believe it. I left my kids at home. At home!" Captain Shirk would have been like, "What?" Anyways, the woman claims that she was half asleep that morning in the 46-second clip, which might explain how she managed to forget her passengers. Twitter users were just as tickled by the parenting mishap as the mom in the video appeared to be. Yeah, some said, well, let's take Nisi here, when the stress level is at 500 billion, LOL. Yeah. Nay says, imagine stepping out of the house, backpack in hand, and seeing your moms pull out of the driveway and speed down the block. Queen Kareen says she needs a vacation away from that routine. God bless mothers. Jordan, she said, you guys are pretty quiet this morning. And Lorena says, this mother definitely needs a nap. In a follow-up tweet, the mother records herself coming back to get her two sons, and the reaction is priceless. In the video, the mom laughs hysterically while her sons laugh along in disbelief that she actually forgot them in the first place. "Mom," one of them says before the woman starts explaining, "I left you," between fits of laughter. You know what? Thank goodness it was innocent and those kids were at home. Definitely. That's a funny story. Oh, Captain Shirk is trying to get me worked up on this one. The future of food is trending beyond meat. No, it's not. It's only the media who is blowing this up. Plant-based foods on the rise. The food industry is currently seeing major restaurants and companies partner up with plant-based brands such as Beyond Meat. And that company is quickly growing into one of the biggest manufacturers of fake meats. You know what? It's not meat, people. Okay? You can't call meat meat, okay? You just can't. You know, there's no There's no substitute. All right? Meat is meat, chicken is chicken, turkey is turkey, fish is fish. You can't create it. All right? Let's just get that out of the way right now. Come up with some new names. They're always adding new words to the dictionary. Yeah. Selling out. And if you're going to eat fake meat, you're still a meat eater. Because your body is craving it. So what exactly is this Beyond Meat made of? Let's take a look here. The company does not genetically modify any of their products. Instead, they aim to find plant-based equivalents of meat's core parts, which they identify as amino acids, lipids, trace minerals, vitamins, and water. In doing so, Beyond Meat states that they mix our plant-based ingredients, compress the mixture, and then shape it into the final product. In other words, it is very expensive children's food. Remember those little jars of pablum and all that crap? That's what you're eating here. As a grown-up, I expect to be in a nursing home when I'm eating this stuff. All right? Preferably toothless at the time. According to their website, the mission is to create the future of protein by offering mass-market solutions that perfectly replace animal protein with plant protein. Great. What are the animals going to feed on? You're killing their food. The protein found in the Beyond Burger and Beyond Beef, it's not a burger if there's no meat on it, by the way. Yeah. Is comprised of rice, peas, and mung bean. Oh, who can't get enough of mung bean these days? For their sausage products, oh, here we go. It's made up of peas as well as fava. What the hell is fava? Now I got to look this up. Captain Shirk, you're getting me angry here. Fava. Look like lima beans. No one likes those. Okay? No one likes those. It's like kale. All right? There are certain things you cannot trust in this world. Number one, if your dog doesn't like them, do not trust that person. Number two, people who eat kale. Throw quinoa on there. Yes, I know it's pronounced quinoa. Oh, and for their beef crumbles, the protein comes directly from peas. Okay, I am a pea guy. I like to pea. And to eat peas. They both work for me. Yeah. They're all made without gluten, GMOs, and soy. It should be noted, however, the peas are legumes, as the French would say, which pose a potential risk for those with nut allergies. See, this stuff's going to kill you already. If you got a nut allergy, you can't be eating this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and then they change the color. Yeah, they change the color to make it look like beef. They're tricking you. Don't fall for the trick. Right? Don't fall for the trick. All right. Scary times here as we are all glued to looking for where the coronavirus is going to pick up. Yeah, well, now in Quebec, Canada, its first presumptive case of the coronavirus has been detected in a woman who recently returned from a trip to Iran, according to the provincial health minister. The woman took a plane from Iran to Qatar before arriving at the Montreal airport Monday. Health Minister Danielle McCann said at an impromptu news conference that she immediately went to an outpatient clinic in the Montreal region with minor symptoms and was quickly given a mask upon entering. The patient was then put in isolation at a nearby hospital where the proper infection control measures were very well implemented. Health workers had no significant risk of exposure, she says. McCann, who declined to specify exactly where the medical facilities are located, she said that medical professionals are confident the patient had limited contact with others and the infection control methods were effective. However, health officials are still investigating who the patient may have come into contact with at the clinic and is monitoring everybody involved for the signs of the virus. Yeah, the detection of this case shows that our system is efficient, it is reliable, and the management protocol is established. all the measures that are necessary to protect the population, protect workers, and take care of patients if it occurs. Here's the problem that I'm seeing with this story. At no time did the Canadian Health Minister say if they got a hold of people on the plane that she rode on to get back to Montreal. They recycle air on the planes, don't they? Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Twitter will. But if she didn't know she had it when she boarded that plane and she wasn't wearing a mask, there's a good chance that, well, let's see, if you're flying cross continent like that, you're probably in a 747, 767, 777, or a big fancy Airbus. There's a good chance that a number of those people on that plane may be infected now. So the question that I have that isn't in this report is, what about the people on the plane? Have they contacted the airline? Has the airline done anything about this? I don't know. Maybe I'm just way, way too curious about that. A bizarre-looking fish, all right, could be the key to help solving the world's hunger issues, unless you're eating those fake burgers. Known as the monkey-face prickleback, the fish has a digestive tract similar to humans, with both small and large intestines and an acidic stomach. It also is among the smaller number of fish that are vegetarian. Here we go. Shark, what's with all the vegan vegetarian stories, man? Holy cow. I know you're laughing in your lounging chair wearing your Rob Zombie shirt right now. Anyway, scientists go off to say, we found that the monkey-face prickleback's digestive system is excellent at breaking down starch, which we anticipated, said the study's co-author, Donovan German, in a statement. But we are also learning that it has adapted to be very efficient at breaking down lipids, even though lipids comprise just 5% of the algae's composition. It is a compelling example of what we call digestive specialization in the genome. Yeah, we all need some of that. Not only is the monkey-face I just love the name of this fish. It is ugly, by the way. Monkey-face prickleback. I guess this is what we call, one of those bands, tribute bands. Instead of Nickelback, we got Prickleback now, with a fish as a logo. I don't even know if I could finish this story. I really don't. Anyways, this apparently it tastes good. Resides in the Pacific. Its meat, described as the new white meat, could be farmed in mass quantities. It could then be fed to people around the world of significant importance. And climate change makes raising livestock less sustainable, the researchers said. Yeah. May not be appealing aesthetically or in moniker. Yes, prickleback. Look at that photograph. But it has become a culinary delicacy around the world. The taste is actually delicate and mild, they say. Well, let somebody else try the prickleback. I'll stick to Guns N' Roses. Here's a funny story. A gas station in a South African city shared a video of a hippopotamus drawing a crowd by wandering through its parking lot. The OK Express convenience store at the Engen gas station in St. Lucia posted the video on its Facebook page, showing the hippo casually strolling through the station's parking lot Sunday evening, causing a crowd of onlookers to gather at the entrance to the store. The hippo returned back to the lake after grazing around town, the post said. Mary Stubbe, who filmed the video, said she was stopped across the street from the gas station when she spotted the wild animal. Stubbe says the station is located near Lake St. Lucia, and hippos are sometimes seen wandering into town to find grassy patches for grazing. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? The man killed. You know how many people hippopotamuses kill annually? More than sharks. More than sharks. I see a hippopotamus coming my way. Okay? I'm hiding. Locking the doors. Getting somewhere high. Because they're too fat to get up on their hind legs. Here's something scary. An Australian snake catcher shared a video of an unusual call-out for a highly venomous snake found hiding behind the toaster in a family's kitchen. Old Stewie McKenzie of Sunshine Coast Snake Catchers said that he responded to a home Wednesday in Rosemount, Queensland, where a family spotted a snake behind their toaster on their kitchen counter. McKenzie identified the serpent as an eastern brown snake, one of the most venomous species in the world. See, that's why we don't go to Australia, people. He was pretty comfortable up there, curled up and minding his own business. He nearly got tangled in the toaster cord, but good old Mackenzie, Stewie, was able to untag him and bag him safely. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Great clown tonight, Marty. Looks like a vegan cloud. Clown, that is. Not cloud. Oh, my goodness. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we post a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. What would you do if you came face to face with black-eyed kids? What's your reaction? Well, here's the weird part. Okay? Normally, I post the question on Facebook and Twitter. My Twitter account is not even bringing it up. And I know there was responses there because I got the notifications for them. Can't find it. Can't find it. Gone. Anyhow, Eric says, I'm inviting them in for cookies and milk. Well, isn't that nice, Cooper? Maybe they'll give you a tug on the beard. I know you like that. Bernadette says she's going to poke him in the eyes. Garrett wants to give them cornea transplants. Every time I think of black-eyed kids, I think of Wes Borden, the lead guitarist for Limp Bizkit. He has those black-eyed contacts that he wears. Trips me out every time. Nancy wants to take their picture. Maybe she'll hook up with Prickleback on tour. Prickleback. That is funny. Gail, when she's not wearing her Prickleback touring t-shirt, I would not open my door. I would speak to them through the door, but feel no need to interact face to face. I believe the conversation would pretty much go like, go home. You have no business bothering people, and you are not welcome here, for I am Captain Shirk. If you need emergency help, tell me now. Otherwise, go away. Oh, Captain. I bet Gail would be shaking her fist at the door as well. Shaking it. Then once she leaves the door and the black-eyed kids go away, she'll sit down on her rocking chair and say, where's my glasses? She'll lose her glasses again. Cheryl. I would not even acknowledge them. I would do my best to clear my mind of any fear or negative feelings, and I'd probably surround myself with salt. Yeah. Bella says, who all would let me use their phone? Not a filter. My eyes are black. It's kind of trippy. She sent a picture on here. She got black eyes. I'd let her use the phone. She seems nice. Gil, I don't believe they exist. Come on, Gil. Olaf, our big buddy Olaf. I would just walk away without saying greetings and salutations. Kelly and Kelly's beard. If it's late at night and someone is beating on my door, I have the pistol pointed at the door while I'm finding out who it is. You know, Florida man reasons. Sebastian, it is a very scary experience. Sylvia, I would stay calm and back up. Never let them into your house or car. Why? Nikki, if you don't know the subject matter, then ask questions. Learn about it instead of trolling the entire comment section. If these people with black eyes meaning their entire eyeball is totally black, not just the iris, actually are a human child. That's one subject regarding a serious medical issue, and help must be obviously sought. But if these supposed people with solid black eyeballs are being represented or representing themselves as a child, that's a whole different issue whatsoever. Renee, I've already came face to face with one. It was one evening a long time ago now when I was at the grocery store, came out to my car, loaded my groceries in the parking lot. It was early evening. It was about to get dark, but I luckily was under a parking lot light. A young boy with blacker than black eyes came up to me out of nowhere and asked if I'd let him in the car. Feeling a sense of dread, I shut the door where I was loading the groceries quickly, jumped into the car, and took off. When I looked in the rearview mirror, the boy was suddenly gone. Only one time I ever saw one, and never want to see one again. We're going to leave it right there, and we'll do it all again tomorrow on Twitter and Facebook for the Thought of the Day. We thank everyone participating today, because you guys make it a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And we thank Captain Shirk for getting me all worked up near the end of the show, thanks to vegan burgers. Appreciate that, Captain. You can read the news of the SOR Newswire on our website. Thank you to David Weatherly for coming on. His website, eerielights.com. Check it on out. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, in our chat rooms on Spreaker, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and all the snarkers and snarkettes at hashtag Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. You guys made it all so fun tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Tomorrow night, it's the SOR Roundtable. I'll have some friends joining me. You come too. We need you. See you tomorrow night. Good night.